Now, Collision was last night. Free agent Sami Callihan, who just wrapped up with Impact at the end of last month, he was spotted backstage at last night's Collision. He was said to be there to discuss a possible on-screen role, but also a possible role behind the scenes for AEW. Callihan is very good friends with Jon Moxley, who I'm sure has been vouching for him to come in. I would be surprised if we don't see Sami Callihan on camera at some point soon. Whether he signs a full-time deal or not, I think this is where he ends up landing. Tony Schiavone, for the second week in a row, was back in the lead announce role on Collision over Kevin Kelly. He's doing more play-by-play than he has in years, and sitting in the middle between Kevin Kelly and Nigel McGuinness. This is a change that began last week, and it came after Schiavone went to Tony Khan and specifically asked for another chance at doing play-by-play. Only he was not expecting that it would be on Collision. He thought it would be on Rampage. And last week on his What Happened When podcast, he said, I told Tony, that being Tony Khan, I told Tony this months ago I would like another chance at doing play-by-play. I can probably do Rampage. And he said, okay, let me think about it. I thought I was going to do play-by-play on Rampage. Then he hit me with Collision. And you don't say no to that. You say, hell yeah, I'll do it. I've told you this many times, Conrad. I am sincere about it. Kevin Kelly is a great announcer. He is so smooth and so good. I really enjoyed working with him and Nigel. I liked the two-man booth on the show. They have 3 for Dynamite. I didn't think it was needed on Collision, but good on Schiavone for wanting to take another stab at play-by-play. He seems to know all the moves. I thought he sounded fine in that role, with Kelly filling in the gaps in the analyst role. I don't know what that says, though, about what Tony Khan thinks of Kevin Kelly if Schiavone thought he was getting Rampage and Tony Khan gave him Kelly's job on the live show instead. That doesn't sound like a real vote of confidence in Kevin Kelly. The best person for the job is actually Ian Riccaboni, but he doesn't want the job. He wants the weekends off to be with his family. Otherwise, I would say it should be him and Nigel on commentary. You know, I liked Kevin Kelly for the part when Tony Khan first made the announcement, but when he disappeared for the G1 and Ian filled in, the difference in quality and the difference in product knowledge was, it was so apparent. So he would be the right person for the job, but he doesn't want it, so there's not much you can do about that. But I'll tell you what I enjoyed about last night, hearing Dave Brown on commentary. Memphis wrestling legend Dave Brown, 77 years old, God bless him, he still has that voice. I'll bet they were all marking out backstage to have him there. He sat in with the rest of the announcers for the Memphis street fight between Eddie Kingston and Jeff Jarrett. Dave Brown called Jarrett's earliest matches when he broke in as a rookie, back before man evolved into an upright position. If you've seen one Jeff Jarrett match in AEW, you have seen them all. Nothing but constant interference from Karen Jarrett and Jay Lethal and Sanjay Dutt and Satnam Singh. It was 5-on-1. Not a single person came out to help Eddie Kingston, clearly the most hated man in the AEW locker room. Jarrett actually pinned him. He pinned the Ring of Honor World Champion, which means that Jay Lethal gets a shot at the ROH title, not Jeff Jarrett. And not that I'm advocating for that, but if you beat the champion and somebody else gets a shot at their title, I think that's pretty dumb. Bryan Danielson beat Andrade El Idolo in what Tony Khan billed as a dream match. He may have literally dreamt it up himself the night before, but this was not a dream match. I wish he would stop throwing that word around and save it for an actual dream match. It was an excellent match, though. The best television match of the week. Although that Gunther match on Monday is pretty close. I really like that one, too. I watched the Rocky Romero match with Mystico on Rampage that everybody was raving about. I thought it was fine, but, it wasn't nearly as good as either one of those two matches. You know, all I kept hearing, well, you gotta see this match, you gotta see this match. And so then I watched it and I was like, that's it? Like, we get better than this from Rey Fenix on a weekly basis. And Phoenix, at least, is an established star on the show. You know, they bring in Vikingo on a pretty regular basis. I didn't see anything there in that match on Friday that was any more impressive than anything I've seen from those two. After the match, Bryan shook hands with Andrade and the lights went out. And when they came back on, Malakai Black was in the ring with Danielson and he dropped him instantaneously with a Black Mass kick. That was a nice surprise. I did not see that coming. Black has been out with a calf tear and a hyperextended knee for a while. So it was good to see him back, and I love that he targeted Danielson because it means that we are getting a Bryan Danielson-Malakai Black singles match. And I have been arguing for more Malakai singles match. I feel like I've been arguing for this since the day he came into the company. Because really, after he beat Cody Rhodes early on, what else has he done as a single star? Nothing. It's been all trio stuff when we actually get to see him. I mean, that's one of the biggest singles matches they could do, is Malakai Black against Bryan Danielson. And then later in the show, the entire House of Black, they came out to lay waste to FTR in the middle of their match. Then they came back out for a third time during the main event, which was Ricky Starks and Big Bill against Claudio Castagnoli and Wheeler Yuta. They took out Claudio, and they helped Ricky and Bill retain their titles. And after the match, Danielson came back out to try to fight them off. He got overwhelmed, as did FTR when they came out to help, until Jon Moxley made his way through the crowd to even the odds. So Moxley has finally been cleared. Ricky Starks was left all alone in the ring, and he took a giant swing, and it must have been 30 revolutions. I mean, he was just being swung around and around and around by Claudio, and the entire time, the camera even cut to Big Bill standing in the aisle with the tag belts. His partner is standing there. His 7-foot partner is standing in the aisle, literally just watching and doing absolutely nothing to help his tag team partner. He never even made an attempt to save poor Ricky, which looked ridiculous. But I am all for elevating the House of Black to something bigger, and a Malakai Black Bryan Danielson match is going to be excellent. There was also a Darby Allin pre-tape promo that aired on the show. Darby has not wrestled a match since the main event at Wrestle Dream against Christian Cage, where he took that awful bump onto the ring steps. Multiple ones, actually. Like an idiot. I thought he broke his arm. Turns out, it's not his arm that's broken. It may be his shoulder. He appeared on Dynamite this week. He did not wrestle, but he did take some bumps. He's going to be back on Dynamite this week when Tony Khan presents his gift to Sting, and Darby said last night that if it's what he thinks it is, it's going to be special. Let's hope it's not the Black Scorpion. But while he was in town this week, Darby also took part in the Nitro Circus, as he did last year here in Brooklyn when they brought the Nitro Circus to Maimonides Park in Coney Island. He took the microphone before he did his stunt jump, and he told the crowd, "I'm not doing too good. My shoulder, I think, is fractured." And he mentioned that on TV last night as well, that he thinks his shoulder is fractured. "I kind of messed up my elbow pretty bad, and last week I had to go train to climb Mount Everest, so I haven't really given my shoulder any time to rest, but when I heard the Nitro Circus was coming through Texas, I had to come." And he then proceeded to do a stunt jump where he drove down a long ramp. It looked like he was riding a frickin' tricycle. He did a complete flip, and he landed right on his injured shoulder. Good luck climbing Death Mountain with a broken shoulder. Darby also has a new face tattoo, doing the Mike Tyson thing. Right over his forehead, he's got a skeleton arm now. After Collision, they aired a third hour. This was their 8th Battle of the Belt special that they are contractually obligated to do. And it just feels like a complete waste of time because no titles actually ever change hands. They've done 8 of these now, and the only title change happened on the second one, where Sammy Guevara beat Scorpio Sky to win the TNT title. That was in April of last year. It's hard to really get excited for these when nothing ever happens. Plus, we just had a Title Tuesday episode of Dynamite last week, so I'm not sure we needed another Battle of the Belts right after that. Orange Cassidy retained the international title over Long John Silver. Samoa Joe got a quick squash win over Tony Nese, retaining his Ring of Honor television title. Chris Statlander retained her TBS title over Willow Nightingale. And please don't tell me they're thinking of turning Willow heel with this sky blue stuff. Turning Willow Nightingale, of all people, heel, that would certainly be a choice. A bad one. And the Acclaimed and Billy Gunn, they retained their AEW Trios titles over Daniel Garcia, Matt Menard, and Angelo Parker. If these specials are supposed to be a throwback to the days of the old WCW Clash of the Champions specials, they have failed miserably. Here is the updated lineup for Dynamite this Wednesday. For the Dynamite Diamond Ring, MJF puts his ring up against Juice Robinson. Just added, randomly, to the show, Bryan Danielson and Claudio Castagnoli will team up to take on the team of Orange Cassidy and Kazuchika Okada, making his Dynamite in-ring debut. What the hell? That was my reaction when I first heard this. Where did that come from? I have no idea, but we're getting Okada on Dynamite, so shut up and enjoy it. That's what I say. Okada in the ring with Claudio. Okada back in the ring with Bryan Danielson. A prelude to Wrestle Kingdom in January. The Tokyo Dome is right around the corner. It's almost that time of year. We're never even a full week into the new year, and we always end up with at least 2 Match of the Year candidates, thanks to New Japan. That should be one of them next year. I think it's Danielson against Malakai Black at Full Gear. That should be the match. If they could get Okada for that show, let him wrestle Claudio one-on-one. But you save Danielson Okada 2 for the Dome, because I would think New Japan is going to want that match. Hikaru Shida defends her AEW Women's World Championship against Ruby Soho. Shida already beat Ruby in a match last month to become #1 contender for the title. Ruby beat Sky Blue on Rampage last week, so I guess that earned her a title shot. Ring of Honor 6-man tag team titles on the line. Hangman Page and the Young Bucks defend against the Hardys and Isaiah Cassidy. I can think of few things in life that I care about less than the Ring of Honor 6-man titles. Give me Hangman Page and Swerve Strickland 2 at Full Gear. That's what I care about. Not a set of meaningless 6-man belts. Hook and RVD, who is working on a per-appearance deal for those wondering. He's not signed to an actual full-time contract. They will team up again. And when I heard that, I thought to myself, could we see the return of Jack Perry if they're going to get back to Jack Perry and Hook? Could we see the return of Jack Perry from his suspension? I hope not. They need to hold that shit off until Thanksgiving Eve when Dynamite comes to Chicago. You don't waste that on Philadelphia. Philly's already getting WrestleMania. Isn't that enough? I think that's enough. I need all the heat for Jungle Jack to make his way out in Chicago. I hope that's what Tony Khan is planning on doing. Speaking of Tony Khan, he will have his gift for Sting, and Renee is going to be conducting a sit-down interview with Chris Jericho. So that is the current lineup for Dynamite this coming Wednesday.